So you want to learn how to make six figures in your 20s, and let me be honest with you, it's not that hard. And maybe you see here my high-rise apartment from New York City and you're saying, Julia, well, it's so easy for you. I actually signed this lease before I had six figures in income. And how did I do that? Because I shifted the identity of who I was at my core to be able to manifest that into fruition. And if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, it started with a vision board, which I still have up here, even though it's a new and improved and updated one. Let's backtrack a little bit. Back in 2020, I was $25,000 in debt. So I was in a really scarcity mindset to be able to energetically attract that debt into my life. So this was student debt, and I remember I had just graduated college and I found out right away that I was in all this debt and my job was only paying me $300 a week. So I had to figure out another way that I was able to pay this off. Now keep in mind, this was earlier in 2020. So as soon as the pandemic hit, I actually took it as an opportunity to be able to pay this off faster with no interest. So while most people were out partying and spending their unemployment checks and doing whatever the heck they want to do when the pandemic first hit, I actually decided, what about if I found a way to side hustle and make some money? So I went on community apps like Nextdoor, and I created posts saying I am in debt and I know the donation centers are closed, so if you want, I will take the clothes off your hands and I will take them in and I'll sort through them and I'll sell whatever I can to pay off my debt, and then when the donation centers reopen, I'll donate the rest. So this is exactly what I did for 6 months, and I was able to pay it off. But what most people aren't telling you, but there's no gatekeeping here, and I'm going to tell you every single thing that I did from all the way from negative 25K in debt to six figures in my 20s, is that every single day I was working on my identity. I was working on creating an abundance mindset on the inside. So you're probably like, Julia, what the heck does that mean? Well, I was doing shadow work. I was healing my relationship to self, and these are some of the books that I actually read during that time in my life. So now most people, even when they pay off their debt, they actually go back into debt because they don't shift who they are at the core. That's also why 70% of lottery winners actually go broke and lose all of that wealth within 5 years of winning. So the first thing that I did to build up to six figures in my 20s is I actually traded my time for money to first become debt-free so then I could start from a clean slate. And keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor. You can make the decision that works best for you because there is an abundance of ways to make six figures in your 20s, but this is just what I did. So you can take what you want and leave what you don't, and by the end of this video, all I hope is that you actually start taking action to create something for yourself and to start earning income, because it's easier than ever to build a business. And once I became debt-free, I realized that working in my job was never going to give me the same freedom that building a business would. So even though I was just selling clothes on Poshmark and my friends in my hometown were making fun of me, what I realized is I was actually creating a business. So I actually had a Poshmark Instagram account, and through this account, I was actually building community. I was building a network of clients through a free platform like Instagram, and this worked really well because I got a lot of sales from that Instagram account and people were transferring over Poshmark. So I was thinking to myself, if I could pay off $25,000 worth of debt in 6 months, imagine what else I could do. And that's when I really got to thinking, and I started to say to myself, the world is really my oyster. So I started to get super creative, and I thought, what are my skills at this point in time? I says, well, I'm a great Poshmark reseller. Clearly, I have built up those skills because I had been doing that all throughout college and even a little bit in high school. So I had those skills acquired for a long time, and I was able to build this Instagram account for my Poshmark page to a really niched community of resellers and people who wanted to buy those products. So I thought about combining those two skills, my ability to grow a social media account and build a community, and actually be a business owner and my own business owner through selling a product or service. And I decided to become a social media manager. So what I did was I actually managed clients' accounts for their social medias. At the time, TikTok wasn't really a thing yet, so it was just mostly Instagram accounts, and even though TikTok was just coming about, I don't think businesses were really utilizing it as much. So I just did what I knew and I helped people grow their Instagram accounts. And I started getting clients for that. And it first started with just my friends and my family. So I'd reach out to people within my network. I was calling local businesses in my area. And that's where you have to remember, you have to hustle a little bit. You have to want it. You have to want this freedom so bad that you're willing to do whatever it takes. And that was exactly the case for me. I wanted to be able to work from from anywhere. I wanted to have an abundance of wealth. I wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and I didn't want to have to sit at a desk from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, because pre-pandemic, I was doing that and I got so burnt out. I was so bored, and I was wondering why they were paying me for 40 hours a week when I was just sitting there twiddling my thumbs, and it felt like such a waste of time. Now, maybe you're not interested in being a social media manager, but there are an abundance of jobs available for you right now where you could work from anywhere. And I'm not talking about going on Indeed or going on LinkedIn and applying for a job. I'm talking about actually going on Upwork or Fiverr and providing a service. So providing a service is really where you're truly trading your time for money, and it has the highest profit margin because there's no overhead. Now, as we know by now, the true path to freedom is creating your own business. But you don't want to go invest $10,000 into a product and have a Shopify dropshipping store and maybe that product doesn't do well. Or buy inventory and then you're stuck with all this inventory and you don't make any sales. So that's why I always recommend starting out with some sort of service where the only overhead is your time. All you're doing is trading your time for money to build your cash flow. So remember, I was starting at a clean slate. I was starting at zero. I didn't have any money in the bank. Maybe I had like $1,000 left over after I paid off my debt. So I said, where can I leverage my time to make the most money? And social media management felt like the best because I wasn't actually being paid by the hour. I was being paid on a retainer. So if they paid me, let's say $500 a month, I could work on my own time and I could get more clients and I could leverage this up to 5, 10K a month, which at one point I did. And if you want to learn exactly how I did that, I actually decided to launch a free community called the Conscious Creator Club. The community just went live this week and we already have an abundance of inflow of members looking to join. So the key here is when you're starting out in any new business, you can't be afraid of sucking. Everybody sucks at first. I sucked at being a social media manager until I figured out how to do it. And how did I figure it out? I just kept doing it. You have to get beyond this cringe phase. And honestly, this is where I'm at with my YouTube channel right now. I just recently picked it back up. I'm so passionate about YouTube. I've been spending so much time studying the platform because I want to diversify and continue to grow my income streams and continue to grow my business. So this is something new for me. I'm currently in my cringe phase, and if you're looking to support this channel, it would mean so much for me if you would subscribe to this channel to help me grow and to help remind me to just keep going, to just keep posting, and to just hit record. So the same advice I'm giving to you is the one I'm actually taking for myself in creating this YouTube video and this channel. Now, as I was doing the work as a social media manager, I also decided to build my personal brand because I knew that being a social media manager wasn't actually the end goal, even though I had built that up to 5, 10K months, like I said, but I knew it wasn't the ultimate goal because I always wanted something that was my own. And then it got to a point in the social media management business when I started to really get the ball rolling with it. I realized that I was actually good at growing social media accounts. So I thought to myself, what about if I actually used all of this knowledge to build my own account? And that was a scary moment because when you're in the beginning stages of building your business, it's kind of scary to take a risk on yourself, let's be real. But with entrepreneurship, with building this life of freedom, you have to understand that this is not like a fluffy thing that I'm sharing with you. You actually have to be really willing to take risks. So the way I was able to lower that risk was to actually build a business's account and to make sure that my ideas worked for someone else's account and then come through and build that for myself. That's when I started building my personal brand. That's when I started getting on TikTok, creating videos, and that was totally new for me. And I also knew I had to do it for my clients as well because the world is moving towards video. So I got on TikTok pretty early, later in the year in 2020 into 2021, and I started building a community, and I actually built my community to over 100,000 people on short form videos. And through that, I now realized that I had something that everyone seemed to have wanted in this day and age, and that was community. I had worked hard to build relationships, to get past that initial cringe phase, and what was really cool was that I was able to do that on the side before I ever felt like I wanted to monetize it. And this is the interesting part about building a community is that most people are like, oh, I want to build a community to sell a course, or I want to sell coaching, or I want to make a product, which is great. And I love the ambition there. But the truth is you have to actually build a community on free content first, because if people don't see results in your free content, how are they ever going to pay you? So if your intent of building a community is just to monetize it, then you're in it for the wrong reasons and you may not be super successful. So that's why I spent my time building a platform for myself on Instagram and TikTok while simultaneously doing client work, so I could build my cash flow so that I could have the freedom to build the community on free content. And most content creators don't do things like this. And you don't have to do service work. You can get a job driving Uber, you can work a bartending job, you could do so many different things. Don't just build a community with the idea of monetizing it. And this is exactly why I value community so much and why I created the Conscious Creator Club. The Conscious Creator Club is my new free community, and I'm so excited to share it with you all because this is something I have been working on for so long, and I finally opened the doors to it this week. The Conscious Creator Club is a place for visionaries to connect and really just surround yourself with like-minded people. So these are for people who want to build a personal brand, start an online business, and achieve what I like to call sweet freedom: spiritual, wealth, emotional, energetic, and time freedom. Because ultimately, don't we all just want a job where we can build a business, travel the world, and live a happy and fulfilling life? So that's exactly my goal with this community, is just to connect visionaries, to connect like-minded people so we can all grow together. Make sure you click the link in the description to sign up for this free community. Like I said, it's totally free, no strings attached. All you have to do is hit that sign up button and join today, and the founding members are already loving it. I'm obsessed with their intro posts. It's been so amazing to see them grow. It's been so amazing to see their posts and get to know them better, and even some of my core student alumni are in there, so it's been a really cool experience. So now that I had a community of 100,000 plus people, I had social media management clients, and I was working my full-time job, I started to feel this massive sense of overwhelm. I knew that I couldn't do all the things, and that's when I got to the point where I quit my full-time job and I took a risk on myself. At that time, I had just moved into my apartment in New York City, and that was scary because I was relying on literally my income, which didn't even pay me enough to actually pay the rent to live here, but I just took a risk on myself because I knew that I was able to manifest anything that I wanted as long as I, one, set my mind to it, and two, took practical, inspired actions every single day. And it's like I had these roadways, I had these pathways to be able to welcome in abundance into my life, and that's exactly what I did. I went and pursued more social media management clients. I started actually pitching myself for paid brand deals. And this is where I started to think like a CEO and less like I was someone employed with a side hustle. So I started to diversify my income streams so I could quit my job. And let me be honest with you, I kind of took a big risk on myself because I just said, well, I'll do some paid brand deals, I'll do some more service work. And it was the best risk I ever could have taken because just a few months later, I had my first 20K month in business, which was so freaking cool. And that was just through sponsorships and my social media management clients. Later that year, I decided to go into selling online courses, and this is really like the turning point of this all, and really when I scaled from 6 figures to multiple 6 figures. So by the end of last year was actually when I earned my first 6 figures in my business, which was really cool to see that on my tax return because I kind of just like side hustled and threw spaghetti at the wall. And for your first 6 figures, you can honestly do that. Like there are a million ways to make money online these days. So it's like, don't feel limited to do the exact path that I did, but just remember that there are so many different ways that you can actually do these things for yourselves. You can create wealth for yourself. But a big part of it, like I said, was that identity piece. So even though when I looked back on my tax return for last year and I saw, I think it was like $101,000, I was just like, a big part of that was all of that internal work that I had done in 2020. That internal work where I had said to myself, I am worthy of attracting an abundance. Like paying off my debt, I easily could have went back into debt if I didn't do that inner work, if I didn't do that inner shadow work. And if this is something you guys are interested in, let me know in the comments and I can absolutely make a video more on doing that deeper identity work. This is what I teach in my online courses. It's a really big part about what I do, and I wouldn't be here and my clients wouldn't have results if they weren't shifting their identities on the surface. So let's fast forward a little bit. Now it's the end of 2021. I see that I'm able to scale a business to 6 figures, even though it was just kind of like a mess of a business. In 2022, I decided that I really wanted to treat this like a business. I wanted to go into selling my own products and services, because the thing about brand deals that most creators or influencers won't share is that you're still kind of working for somebody else, right? Like you're still promoting someone else's products, and it's like you've spent your hard-earned time and energy to build build your community, you might as well sell the things that you create. You might as well sell your own products and services. And when I started to realize this is actually when I went into online courses, mentorship, and one-on-one coaching. So I kind of like hunkered down in 2022 and I got really serious about making my online courses amazing. I wanted to make it an amazing experience for everyone. I wanted to really feel like the CEO of my own company, and I wanted to actually start treating this like a company, like a business. I started thinking about the long-term vision. So ultimately, as you can tell by this point, into 2022, I started to let go of all of those social media management clients. And that was really scary because that was a big part of my income. And then again, I took another inspired risk on myself. But the way that things were going for me is that I knew that I had already earned 6 figures in that first year just by doing different side hustles, brand sponsorships, and doing some one-on-one coaching, some courses towards the end of the year. And this is when I started to get really obsessed with the online course creation industry. Now, keep in mind, most people are going into this where they just want to go right into selling a course, but they don't realize that I had spent 2 years building my community before I ever got really serious about selling online courses. So now I'm able to sell my courses with ease. And as you can see here, I had a $50,000 course launch just this past August. And this was because I had spent 2+ years refining my craft, building my community, doing the identity work, which is a thing that I teach. I've actually been doing identity work since I'm like 8 years old. So it's like, I've been doing this stuff for so many years. Now I'm actually seeing the fruits of my labor. And now at this point in time, I'm actually earning up to $10,000 a day because I have built this community. I've built a business. And like I said, all of my micro actions over the past 2 years, now going into 3 years, are compounding, and I'm actually able to see the benefits of it. So if you're at the beginning stages of your journey, right? You're at the beginning stages, you're like, I'm trying to quit my job, I'm not happy, I want to explore something new. I just want to say, start by working on the identity piece, working on who do you have to become a 6-figure entrepreneur, and start living as that person every single day. So the way that I show up now that I'm scaling from multiple 6 figures to 7 figures is I ask myself, how would the 7-figure CEO handle this? How would the 7-figure CEO act? And that's what's helped me manifest up to $10,000 a day in my own business, because I am acting now as the 7-figure CEO, and that's what the 7-figure CEO would do. So let's just go back a step. And if you're looking to become that 6-figure CEO, that 6-figure entrepreneur where you travel the world, you're living the laptop lifestyle, you're doing work that you're actually passionate about and you actually love, what would that version of you do? Because most people aren't going to tell you. 95% of this is mindset. That's why there's a bajillion ways to make 6 figures in your 20s. But what's important is the mindset, is the identity piece. Who do you have to become to be that person? How do you have to act to be that person? So back in 2020, to pay off my debt, right? What was the identity of someone who was debt free? Well, she wouldn't just go out every single weekend and spend all of her money and go out drinking, right? She wouldn't buy purchases that weren't necessary in those times of wanting to pay down my debt. So now I'm actually at a point in my life where it's like, I don't have to check my bank account before I buy something because I've built that trust with myself. But this new identity took me 3 separate phases. It went from the person who was 25K in debt to the 6-figure CEO to now acting and living as if I'm the 7-figure CEO. What does this mean for you? Figure out who you have to become to embody the 6-figure version of you. What are the actions you have to take? What are the courses you have to invest in? What are the mentorships you have to put your hard-earned money and dollars towards? What are the inspired risks that you have to take to start manifesting this into fruition? Because you can do anything that you want in this lifetime, but if you don't believe it, you don't shift the identity first, it's not going to happen. You have to first believe that you are the version of you that sees this success. And the way that you do that is you start surrounding yourself with the right energy. You start consuming the right content. You start creating with the intention of giving back to this world. You start creating for the greater good of this planet. And this is exactly why I'm grouping together the most like-minded, beautiful, inspirational, motivated people in this world through the Conscious Creator Club. So make sure you click the link in the description. Make sure you sign up. And I cannot wait to see the six-figure business that you create for yourself.